It's very rare that we kind of critique passion projects or independent films, and I think it's an opportunity, a great time to do so. One came up last year. It finally got entered distribution the late end of last year, and I think you can find it streaming on a variety of service stations. It's Permafrost.
Yeah, so it's a movie that I hadn't heard of until you brought it up.
Okay.
And so if you haven't heard about it, listen to us talk about it for a little bit and decide if it's for you. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. And please do us a solid. Hit the like and subscribe button. Tell everybody about the show. It's a little thing you can do. It's a big thing for us as well. Both Kyle and I are members of Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out that webpage for critics' reviews as well as ours. Do we have a Patreon? Heck yeah, we do.
Yeah, I think we have one.
Check out that Patreon we have for great content, great deals. We got loads of stuff. We just loaded more material up on our Patreon and an opportunity to tell us what movies we could critique in future episodes. And today we're talking about relatively one of the kind of genres we don't talk about, which is independent films, kind of passion project kind of films. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So the world is a frozen wasteland, and bounty hunter James is doing his best to get by. When he finds and takes in a helpless little girl, it gives him a chance at personal redemption.
Okay, so this is written, starring, and produced by, and I hope you're getting your name right, Lenny Uito.
I'm guessing that's
Uito.
Yeah.
He's done a bunch of other short films that are IMDb. I didn't get the opportunity to check those out, but this is his first full feature film. And written, I think, by Riley Hardy. She's also a person in this movie as well, playing, I think, the surrogate mom to the little child. This is filmed, I think, all of last 2 winters ago, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was filmed, and what I think is funny is that during
Utah.
the first story about the film was that on their first day, they had someone approach them while they were filming that said, "My car is stuck on the ice and it's sinking, can you help us out?" And so when they finished the filming day, they stopped the filming day early and they went and helped them out. So if nothing else, this movie saved some people and their property. So
yeah, I'm sure the insurance person appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a very hard gamble, especially when you're of the independent nature, to go full board and jump all into a full feature film. Permafrost is right. You have set the setting. It's but people talk about put the weather in your story. This definitely does. So you have this wonderful landscape. Pretty much a lot of it, 90% of it is exterior. And you have this kind of post-apocalyptic story about a bounty hunter who's looking to make money by claiming bounties, and one of them happens to be this one child, and then he takes it up his wing to accompany it rather than turn her in.
yeah, and I think it's hard to decide to do post-apocalyptic for your feature debut with your low-budget film.
We just talked about another one that was Wintertide, which is a zombie winter frozen post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, and it's hard to do a winter set film. It's hard to do a lot of these elements that are being done there. And it's a mistake that some people make going out is not actually being able to come through with that at the end, because it is a difficult thing to do. Usually you want to try and know your limitations and see what you can kind of accomplish with it. I think Uito does a solid job at saying, like, okay, here's what I have. Here's what I'm capable of accomplishing with this budget.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the Stark landscapes look really nice. They look professionally shot, even on a lower budget, because it's a good use of that snowy kind of frozen tundra element to it. You tell me it's shot in Utah, I was like, okay, it might have been shot in Minnesota. I mean, it looks like it could have been shot anywhere at any time. Has that real lived-in feeling to it.
So, right, put the weather in it, and my gosh, if you're stuck on what kind of concept you want to use for a story, Lone Wolf and Cub works, man. Kyle and I both, I pitched it to him, let's do it. It's a Lone Wolf Cub post-apocalyptic in the winter. He's like, let's go for it. It's one of those that kind of, you never really fail with this kind of story. Mandalorian does it. Star Wars is filled with Lone Wolf and Cub stories.
Yeah.
Any kind of fantasy story has a Lone Wolf. He-Man, for God's sake, says Orok and He-Man. These little, kids and the adult out in kind of the world. I know we could do True Detective kind of Lone Wolf Cub story. Also, what works in here is the exterior shots of the film. the action's a little bit, it's hard because you're limited on what you can do full friendly. I like how they mask it with the janky kind of cuts.
Yeah, I think the film's editing does it a few favors, because I do think,
Right.
the action is a little truncated. I think a lot of the dialogue sequences where they're talking, I don't feel the energy coming off the actors in the same way, because, again, you're dealing with kind of a...
It's
You
hard
know,
to do when
what
you're
do all the characters in The Walking Dead have when they're talking to each other is they have charisma. The world has ended. We can get a little weird. And I feel like these characters kind of feel like they're just unsure about themselves, and the performances don't feel as strong.
Yep.
So the editing does do a little bit of like skirting around some of the issues there.
Yep.
Because
He's
I
right.
don't know that I entirely buy, unfortunately, Lenny's lead performance. He's kind of very truncated and kind of clunky in his dialogue usage.
Right, there's a certain scene where he's kind of ends it all. He wants to end it all, and there's kind of this mysticism of the person he lost or grieving for materializes and continues on, and that seems almost just inserted in there, right? And
Yeah.
it just, I love it. I champion independent films, but there's certain like things where the charisma interaction with people doesn't. It seems stagnated. It seems kind of stale. Where you could really deliver a hard punch to this. Also, it seems a little safe. I understand you're doing not much daring for a post-apocalyptic, but let's go really devastating. On the road with Cormac McCarthy is brutal because the characters in there, and even the side characters, are not even. There's no empathy left, and I think everybody has some kind of level of sympathy, empathy. There's nobody I really hate in this movie. There's nobody I really like in this movie.
Yeah, it's unfortunately kind of a little passe, a little kind of forgettable in the wind.
Yeah.
And I think, we have a number of characters in the film that I don't 100% buy as being people who have lived through the end of the world. Because a lot of them are pretty safe. And they treat each other in a respectable way, which I don't buy would be something you'd happen. I think the strongest scenes are in the outside, because I think the outside is replicable. I think once you get inside, there was a lot of sequences like this kind of like bar saloon area. I saw a number of like the tables and chairs were made to look rustic, but I've seen them in like Ashley Furniture when I've been shopping. And so there's kind of that sense of like, I'm not 100% buying it because you didn't make it, and I think there's a lot of stuff in here that could have been made instead of purchased, and it would have looked better and probably been done for a little bit cheaper. There's just that aesthetic piece of the whole thing, that believability that I did not have throughout the film.
Overall, I will give it a solid effort. Understand a lot, editing makes up a lot of things that kind of doesn't really jive together. But I really appreciate the Lone Wolf and Cub story to it. It's just I want to have a transition where I really want to root for them or really want to hate them, and I just don't feel that pull from either side.
Yeah, because the I want to root for them or I want to hate them is a good point, because in the actual original 6-film series for Lone Wolf and Cub, Ogami Ito, who is the lone wolf who has the cub, that child and him have a lot of strain. They have a lot of, it is his son, but he also, when he took the son under his wing and said, like, okay, they killed our mother, I'm going to give you 2 options. You can let me kill you right now, or you can let me bring you along, but the life will be hard. And he gives this infant child a choice. Would you rather die or would you rather come with me? There is a certain kind of a heroic mysticism that I think is lacking in this film, because I don't really know that I buy the chemistry for these two people. And then when they fight, I don't really find that strain either. Like when he turns around and said, I'm a bad person, I kill people.
Are you really?
I wasn't taking that in. I really wasn't.
Right.
So yeah, I think the movie has some pretty good cinematography for kind of a lower budget.
Yeah,
which is
I'm really
shocking, 'cause I
impressed.
think
Yeah.
there's 6 DPs on this film.
Yeah.
So they must have had a number of times where they couldn't get the person
Rotation,
back.
right, yeah.
But unfortunately, like, good looking outside kind of has a bit of a hollow inside. I think that's kind of the case with the physical look of the film, but also some of the screenplay choices. I think when you are working with a lower budget, you've really got to knock it out of the park with a screenplay that has oomph to it. And I don't know that there's any oomph once we get kind of past the original idea. And it is a little bit of wash, rinse, and repeat. There's a lot of, they're walking down a path, they get attacked by people, they kill them, they move on. Like, and there's just kind of that similar feel to it.
Unless you want to do like a rapid pass of that digestion of constantly doing that, where you get tired of it or something like that, like a montage.
Yeah, and I understand that's difficult. I wrote myself in college. I wrote a short film that was a apocalyptic film, and we shot it. We had zombies in it. It was a very difficult process. I don't think it entirely worked out, and I was the one who wrote it. I get it.
Yeah.
But this is what we have, is what the finished product is, and I just think it needed some more passes. It needed some more excitement to it. You can mine excitement for cheap.
Right.
That is one thing you can still do with a kind of lower budget. So.
And before we go, the great Sam Fuller said, when you're working with smaller budget and you don't have the capabilities to do, get eyes on eyes. Get that intimacy moment where we care.
That's fair.
You're going to sell that. So, another little thing we can learn about it. Hats off. It's a good, solid effort. I'd like to see more. Maybe we have a little more. Everybody learns about the first full feature film, what you want to do. Afterwards.
I would suggest the director take his time and do a few more short films. I know that he's got a good couple under his belt, but this film felt like a short film that was stretched to a feature. And I feel like keep lengthening out your short films and keep trying to add some more things in there. But I just think right now his place is right in short films. Take a couple cracks at
great stunts. You got great stunts on how you craft it. You just got to figure out what you want to do in the between. So, wonderful.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. And you can check out all my film reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com.
You can see my show, the St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts, and now we're on Google Radio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Next time I'm cold, I'm going to listen to a couple.